Welcome to the Cove.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Den. We're making it new this year.
Yep.
By request of the last year's owner. But that's okay. We're gonna make it our own.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the Cove. I'm Grant Engelsman,
And I'm Nick Miller.
and we'll be your host this year. So a little overview. Basically, we are just gonna be two guys just talking about sports.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. So we'll kind of talk about broad sports, move into local sports, and that'll be mostly all local sports that are going on at the time.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of go back to one more big topic.
Yeah.
As of right now, we're a little dry of
Yeah. There's not much going on.
no, and because it's just playoffs, finals are done for a lot of teams, and
Mm-hmm. We
so-
only have two seasons going on, two professional seasons.
So we'll try our best to fill the spots.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, welcome.
Yep.
This is the Cove.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started. Let's talk about the NFL.
Yeah.
So NFL, we are into week 6.
Mm-hmm.
Going into week 6, pretty sure. And I mean, it's been from how weird it's been this whole entire year, it's been a pretty normal season.
Yeah. Aside from all the injuries.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Is so many injuries of of key players.
I just saw Dak Prescott go down.
Yeah, Dak is done.
Yep.
And
I saw that thing. That was gross.
it was nasty. And so you got like Christian McCaffrey, like J.J. Watt. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those key players, and they're done. And those are just like the small list. And week 3, I think I counted there was 22 major NFL player injuries.
Yep.
Not saying that all players aren't major, but the most high paid,
the superstars.
The superstars, yes. Yeah. And so that's just very abnormal.
Yeah. Very unfortunate for those teams.
It is.
And it's costing them wins too.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, like the standings are looking pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't looking out of like the blue.
The top teams are who you would expect.
Yeah, like you got or maybe not the AFC East.
Yeah.
AFC East, you've got the Bills in first, who are 4-1. Patriots, who are 2-2, but that also kind of makes sense because they just lost the GOAT, Tom Brady.
Yeah, they got a whole new system.
They got a whole new system. They also did gain a really talented player, Mr. Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also very, very Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a really talented player for that team.
Yeah.
And from what I've watched of the Patriots, I mean, they seem to be doing fine.
Yeah.
Like they're 2-2, but you're also only 4 games into your season, so there's not a lot you can do about that right now. And then Dolphins and Jets are on the bottom of that, which isn't very surprising. And then the AFC East, obviously Chiefs are dominating there. AFC North, Steelers are actually in first they're 4-0, but Ravens are 4-1. Browns are 4-1 too. So all those teams are in competition for that first place spot.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of up for grabs in the AFC North right now. But all teams have been looking fantastic. The Browns with their second-year quarterback, Baker Mayfield, he's been doing great. Odell Beckham Jr. doing fantastic on the Browns. Ravens also doing fantastic. They were looking great when I was watching them. Same with the Steelers. They look like a whole new team. Then you go to the AFC South, and we get the Titans, who are leading with a 4-0. and then the Colts trailing 3-2, and then the Texans and the Jaguars, who are 1-4. And I think it's a little surprising for the Texans to be here, but also at the same time, it's not, because they did just lose their star receiver.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins got traded to the Cardinals, and so that was a big blow for that team. But I still don't understand, because they still have a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
And they've got a top 5 or 6 quarterback.
But I mean, if he doesn't have any targets to throw to, he's half of the offense.
Yeah, that's true. But we'll see what happens. You never know. They could start out 1-4 and then make a good run. So that was just the AFC. Let's move over to the NFC. In the NFC East, which is the Cowboys, Eagles, Washington football team, because obviously of the whole Redskins is racially against code or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the deal was.
And that'd be a good example of important things that we would talk about, like breaking news for that.
Yeah. Or like free agency signings, injuries, of course.
Exactly. But Cowboys are leading 2-3. So this is a little.
Yeah, that's a little.
It's a little shaky.
Yeah.
Cowboys are 2-3. Eagles 1-3. Washington is 1-4, and Giants are 0-5. So all not great teams, and especially with the Cowboys losing Dak, that's
the NFC East is gonna be a little ugly this year.
Yeah. So let's move to the other side. Let's go to the NFC West. Seahawks 5-0. They're going in strong.
Yep.
Rams who are 4-1, Cardinals who are 3-2, and 49ers who are 2-3. And that was a Super Bowl team last year. And I think part of the reason they're not doing great is because they have 2 major players who are out.
Yeah.
They've got one of their best defensive linemen out, and they've got their quarterback, Garoppolo, who's out. But the NFC West is looking very strong. But I did just see in news a headline that said, "Sorry, undefeated Seahawks and Packers. Rams are NFC's best team," and I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
If you watch the Rams play their defense, Aaron Donald, he is an amazing player. He is outstanding. He's making tackles. They've got a very talented offense, very solid defense. So they are they're coming up for Seahawks number 1 spot.
Who's their one loss to?
The Rams. I think it was the Seahawks.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
So, yeah. So let's move down. We'll move back up. NFC North: Packers, Bears, Lions, Vikings. Packers are 4-0. Bears are 4-1. Lions are 1-3, and Vikings are 1-4. So again, Bears and Packers are both up for that number 1 spot. So those are both going to be competitive teams. And then NFC South is going to be the Saints, who are 3-2, Buccaneers, who are 3-2, Panthers, who are 3-2, and then the Falcons, who are 0-5.
Yeah.
This is the first time the Falcons have started 0-5 since I think I said 2011 or something like that. So they're usually a pretty solid team. And
Yeah, that's rough for them.
They just can't catch a break.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that the Buccaneers aren't doing better.
Yeah, I mean, they got the GOAT.
They got Tom Brady.
He's 87 years old, but that's okay.
It's okay. They got out of retirement Rob Gronkowski, who's also 87 years old.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're obviously making something work if they're at least 3-2.
Yeah.
They got Chris Godwin, who is absolute speed demon on the field. And they've just got a very talented team. I'm guessing the reason their 2 losses has come from their defense.
Yeah.
Because I have no doubt in their offensive capabilities.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it for.
What about Le'Veon Bell?
Oh yeah, Le'Veon Bell. So he was kind of all over the place this season. He started, and he was last year's in the Jets, and then he kind of realized no, I'm done here.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was a free agent for not that long. Like, I think it was just in the beginning of like October is when he said, I'm a free agent. And like right on it, Kansas City signed a 1-year deal with Le'Veon Bell, which is a very good addition for their team. They've got a very solid running back, but adding Le'Veon Bell to that mix is a very, very good player. Even though he might not be in his prime, he's still a very good player.
Yeah.
And then the Colts announced that they have a lot of COVID-19 tests.
That's going to be. I feel like this is the start of the end for the NFL season.
It is.
Maybe because what the difference between the NFL and the NBA is the NBA was confined in one single space with no outside entry other than quarantine. Like if you were to come in, you're to quarantine. But for the NFL, you're flying everywhere to play every team. Well, not every team, but all the teams that you are playing. And that's causing not only from the players getting it, but from the fans getting it, then coming to the game, because there's fans at NFL games, right?
Yeah.
So there's fan cases that could, so.
And these NFL teams are doing workouts that they're not supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going behind the, their managers' backs, they're going behind the NFL commissioner's back, and they're doing these workouts without permission.
Yeah.
And that's going to kind of throw them under the bus right there, and they're gonna kind of screw over the entire league.
If you're gonna ask me, I think that we will not be able to finish the NFL season.
I don't think we will either. It's just a very, very high contact sport.
Yep.
As much as I hate to say it, I just don't think that the NFL is gonna go on much longer.
No.
Unless something changes. That's kind of it for NFL.
Yep.
Let's move into MLB. We are in the NLCS, which is the semis.
Yep.
For people that don't know what baseball are.
Yep.
Or is this guy, and we've got in one side you've got the Rays and the Astros, and the Rays have been dominating. They're winning the series right now 3-1. And then Atlanta is leading 3-1. I was not expecting this. The Dodgers are getting owned by them. Like, again, I mean, even though they did lose 15-3 in an NLCS game, which is very unlikely, you don't see that. And then the next game, Braves win 10-2.
Yeah.
Like, those are very high margins. Like, you don't see that in these late competitive games. But I don't know.
I saw in the first inning, I don't know if it was a record or not, but it was just on Wednesday's game, the Dodgers scored 11 runs in a single inning in the first inning. The
very first inning, which is crazy. But the Braves have been showing up. They've been saying to this Dodger team who had 17 losses, they've been saying, "We want you out of here. This is our time. We've made it this far. We haven't been to a World Series in a long time. So we want it to be our turn. You've been to enough World Series. Let us be. We aren't giving up." And so they are just plowing straight through. And so today, the Astros play the Rays. If the Rays win, they will go on to the World Series, and the Braves play the Dodgers also today. The Rays and Astros game starts at 6 today, and then the Dodgers and Braves play at 9.
So who's the Rays and the Braves could potentially win tonight, and then
that
face each other.
That's what our World Series would look like.
Yep.
So that could be a once in a lifetime World Series.
Yeah.
You don't usually see these teams in the World Series. I mean, I guess you kind of thought the same thing in 2016 with the Cubs and the Indians, but
yeah,
still, they're both they've showed their worth here.
They're here for a reason.
Yeah. Acuna, who plays for the Braves, has been just showing up. His defense is phenomenal. The way his footing is just fantastic. He can just absolutely just whale it out of the park when he needs to. So next week we'll probably be back and talking about the World Series, or I will, because he has no clue. That's me. So that's just gonna be that's me. Either way, you never know. Astros, and Rays could go either way, because right now it's 3-2. So you have no clue.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that leads. We'll talk about that next week, obviously. So let's talk about some. Let's narrow it down.
Yeah. We'll come home.
Yeah.
We're gonna stick with the Grand Haven sports a little bit. I know your soccer season just ended.
We're done. We lost in the first round of districts to Rockford.
That was heartbreaking.
It was a really heartbreaking loss, especially for our seniors.
The thing is, I would say
it was especially heartbreaking because we came off of winning districts last year, and that's what coaches. We were expected to win regionals this year, and we lost in the first round of districts.
Yeah.
And so our team was just kind of disappointed in ourselves, and our seniors were just not.
Well, that's the thing. I think Wednesday's game was maybe a fluke. I think that you guys played better than Rockford.
In the first half, I will say we played awful. Both Rockford, I'm going to say this right now, Rockford does not know how to play soccer. They are big, they are fast, and they are strong. And they play kickball. And that's the only way they score goals, and that's the only reason they're first in our conference.
That's the thing. I think the one goal that they scored was one of maybe 3 shots that were even on target.
And that shouldn't have been a goal too. It was just a defensive breakdown.
Yep.
And our defense owned up to it right away and said that was us. And so we wanted to make up for it. Turner Osterban had so many great shots that night. And
I was watching, I think maybe the last 7 minutes, maybe you guys had the ball on.
We were dominating
your side of the field the entire time.
For the third or the fourth quarter, if we're talking about, obviously soccer plays in halves, but if we're playing, if we say in the second half of the second half, that was our game. We were winning that.
You were inches from scoring every single time you played in the box.
When the ball was on their side of the field, we had a scoring opportunity every single time. And that was our struggle. That was a struggle for our team this year. We just couldn't finish.
Yeah.
Which was a really bummer, but it's all right. Next year is going to be a very interesting year.
Yeah. How many returning players do you think you'll have?
We will have.
I'll say seniors.
At least 5 of us.
Okay.
Which is kind of the main 5 of our my senior year next year will be me, which I'll probably start at keeper. And you got Connor Dahlman, Luke Thayer, Brady McDonald, and then Nate Banky.
Yep.
And you obviously have some more seniors, but those are the main 5 that I will say they're going to make it for sure.
But then you got the incoming juniors.
Yeah, and you've got but I'm saying those are those returning ones.
Okay, yeah.
For sure. And you never know. There could be some freshmen that show up next year. There could be some sophomores that show up next year, and they're looking for a varsity spot.
Yep.
So we kind of ended, I'm pretty sure, with a 5-3-1 record.
Do you know how many games you played in total?
I think 9 sounds about right.
Okay.
I could be just completely wrong too. I honestly can't remember. I wasn't really paying attention to our record, but
yeah.
So soccer's over. Let's move into American football.
Which we not good.
Not good.
No. I remember hearing maybe it was the halftime score was of the Montessori's game, who's number 1 in the state, that it was actually close.
It was close, and no one was expecting this.
No.
After hearing about their Montessori's quarterback who
He scored
who-
5
he's-
touchdowns
he's-
in the first quarter in
No.
5 different ways.
He scored 7.
It was 7?
It was 7 touchdowns in the first 8 minutes. Not even the first quarter. He threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, caught for a touchdown, had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, intercepted for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown, and something else. Maybe it was 6. But either way, that is insane.
Yeah.
And then they're going up against this Grand Haven team who, in the first 2 games, had a combined points loss of over 110.
Which is their own record. They beat
They
their
beat
own
our own record of like 103. And they were going into this game up against Mona Shores, and I can overhear these football kids saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have the upset of the century. And, like, we got this." And I was like, way to be optimistic, but I don't know.
Nah.
And so the football game starts, and we're looking great actually. We go into the second half. We're only down by 1 score. Do you know what the ending score was?
I don't know.
I think they lost by like 20, which actually is more surprising.
It's actually not that bad.
It's not that bad to compare.
Well, actually, no. When you think about it, that's only 3 scores.
And it's only 3 scores. And the first 2 teams we played, who were not number 1 in the state, we lost to by almost 10.
Yeah.
So, football, good job, I guess.
Way to stick with it.
Way to stick with it. And keep up the hard work, I guess. You guys you got it. Good job. So, football, we'll see where that's gonna go.
Yeah.
They have a game tonight. I think it's against like
I don't know who it's against.
might be like Jennison. No, they've already played Jennison.